Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. Attachment in the classroom, the secure base. While attachment theory evolved out of psychoanalysis, it is crucial to mention here. It posits that children need a secure base from which to explore the world. In the classroom, the teacher is that secure base. Students with secure attachment act as we expect students to. They trust us, they ask for help when they need it, and they are confident exploring new ideas. But students with anxious attachment might be clingy, needing constant reassurance that you aren't mad at them. They might act out just to get your attention, because negative attention is better than no attention. Students with avoidant attachment might push you away, acting like they don't care and don't need help. They have learned that adults are unreliable, so they rely only on themselves. For the avoidant student, a teacher who tries too hard to be buddy-buddy might feel threatening. For the anxious student, a teacher who is cold or distant reinforces their worst fears. Understanding these styles helps us tailor our approach. We can be consistent and warm for the anxious child, and respectful of space, while remaining available for the avoidant one. Resistance and the fear of knowing. In psychoanalysis, resistance is anything the patient does to avoid the hard work of therapy. In education, it's anything the student does to avoid learning. We often assume students don't learn because they aren't smart enough or don't care. Psychoanalysis suggests a different, more profound reason. Learning is scary. To learn is to admit you don't know something. It makes you vulnerable. It involves change, and the ego hates change because change feels like a threat to identity. If a student has built an identity around being the tough kid or the class clown, learning to love Shakespeare might threaten that identity. It might alienate them from their peers or their family culture. So they resist. They act out. They sleep. They forget their books. This isn't just laziness, it's a defense against the anxiety of becoming someone new. The British psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott introduced the concept of the holding environment. In therapy, this is a safe emotional space where the client can fall apart and be put back together. In school, the classroom must be a holding environment. It must be a container strong enough to hold the student's anxiety, aggression, and fear without breaking. When a teacher stays calm in the face of chaos, when they accept a student's feelings without judgment, even while correcting the behavior, they are creating this holding environment. They are saying, I can handle your worst, and you are still safe here. Only in this safe space can the defenses drop long enough for learning to enter. The hidden curriculum and the institutional unconscious. Finally, we have to look at the school itself. Schools are institutions, and institutions have their own unconscious drives. There is a hidden curriculum in every school. The unspoken lessons we teach about power, conformity, and worth. Psychoanalytic theory asks us to question why our schools are structured the way they are. Why do we rely so heavily on bells and schedules? Is it to create order, or is it a collective defense against the chaos of childhood? Why do we track students? Is it for their benefit, or does it serve a societal need to categorize and project smartness onto some and slowness onto others? By examining the institutional unconscious, educators can start to dismantle the systems that cause harm. We can start to see how the school environment itself might be triggering the very behaviors we are trying to stop. Psychoanalytic theory asks us to question why our schools are structured the way they are. Why do we rely so heavily on bells and schedules? Is it to create order, or is it a collective defense against the chaos of childhood? Why do we track students? Is it for their benefit, or does it serve a societal need to categorize and project smartness onto some and slowness onto others? By examining the institutional unconscious, educators can start to dismantle the systems that cause harm. We can start to see how the school environment itself might be triggering the very behaviors we are trying to stop. The elephant in the room, critique and relevance. We have to be honest. Freud had some weird ideas. His theories are often criticized for being sexist. The concept of penis envy is cringy at best, overly focused on sexuality and lacking hard scientific data. You can't put the id in a test tube. In the age of data-driven instruction, evidence-based practices, and brain scans, psychoanalysis can feel like a dusty relic of the Victorian era. However, throwing the baby out with the bathwater would be a massive mistake. While the specific details of Freud's psychosexual stages might not belong in a modern lesson plan, the core insights are more relevant than ever. In a post-pandemic world, we are seeing a mental health crisis in our schools. Anxiety and depression are through the roof. Behavioral issues are more complex and volatile than they have been in decades. A purely cognitive approach, focusing only on standards, rigor, and test scores, woefully fails to address these realities. You cannot test prep a student out of trauma. Modern education is embracing social-emotional learning, SEL, and trauma-informed care. Whether they admit it or not, these frameworks stand on the shoulders of psychoanalysis. They acknowledge that behavior is a form of communication, that the past shapes the present, and that relationships are the primary vehicle for growth. When a teacher does a feelings check-in, they are doing psychoanalytically informed work. When a school implements restorative justice instead of punitive suspension, they are prioritizing the repair of relationships over the suppression of the id. Teaching is, by definition, a relationship between two unconscious minds, the teachers and the students. If we ignore this, we are teaching with one eye closed. We might deliver the content, we might cover the standards, but we will miss the human being sitting right in front of us. Psychoanalytic theory invites us to look beneath the surface. It challenges us to read between the lines of student behavior, to hear the silent scream behind the defiant act, and to recognize the frightened child inside the tough teenager. It asks us to look in the mirror and examine our own triggers, biases, and ghosts. By applying these concepts, we don't become therapists. That's not our job, and we shouldn't try to be. But we do become better educators. We become more empathetic, more patient, and more astute. We stop reacting to the symptoms and start addressing the causes. We create classrooms that aren't just factories for facts, but sanctuaries for the developing self. In a world that is often chaotic, superficial, and fast-paced, offering that kind of depth, understanding, and holding is perhaps the most profound lesson we can teach. It helps our students not just to pass the test, but to survive the tumultuous journey of growing up.